it's a lot farther than you think it is. Like you think it's far, but it's even further than that. So it was a total of 36 hours of flight time, because it's literally the other side of the world. Like I think Africa is just about as far as you can get from America before you start going the other way around the world. But getting there, it took me, let's see, because I flew from Salt Lake to Chicago, and Chicago to Brussels. I missed my flight because church travel gave me too short of a connection time. So they put me up in a nice hotel. I stayed the night in Brussels. It was really nice, actually. And then I flew from Brussels to Douala, Cameroon, and then Douala, Cameroon to Yaoundé, Cameroon, where I started the mission. So it took a long time. And the whole time, I was by myself because I was the only one in the MTC going there. So I flew a day and a half all by my lonesome. So I was still kind of scared at that point. I didn't know how to talk to people about the gospel. I didn't share the gospel with anybody. I had a chance at one point, but I sort of didn't. I regret doing that. I made up for it later on the way back. We talked to the gospel with like 5 people, but getting there, it was kind of rough. I remember my first day, it was an adventure, because I get to the apartment, it's late at night, and the couple missionary drops me off, and I'm with my trainer and the other elder in the apartment, and he's waiting for his companion to bus up from the next city on the next day. They're both North American, so they're sort of explaining to me how it works in Africa. And like, all right, we're making a nice dinner tonight, and the power went out. So like, well, guess I'll make you pancakes tonight. So I had pancakes by candlelight, and I was so exhausted I went to bed right after that. I fell asleep for like an hour, and then the power came back on, and it woke me up, and then I was just up. I fell asleep again around 4 in the morning. I had to get up at 6. It was bad. That was like night 1, and then day 1, do my studies, whatever, and out we go to go work. I hear 2 men conversing outside of this little like boutique where you go to buy bread and other sort of like a little general store, like a little 7-Eleven, but just really small. I heard them conversing outside, and I didn't understand what they were saying. I thought to myself, oh, that must be some sort of tribal dialect, because I know French. I already know French. I learned at the MTC, took it in high school, and on the way there, I helped this Belgian woman who didn't speak English, helped her in baggage claim, try to figure out where her bags were and where they needed to be, because she didn't speak English, the guy didn't speak French, so I helped translate. So I thought I was the king of French. So I asked my companion, hey, those guys over there, what language are they speaking? And he said, that's French, they're speaking French. I was like, so I turned to him and I said, Elder, that's not the language they taught me in the MTC. And it wasn't. And the rest of the day I was confused, and I couldn't understand anything anybody was saying. And I was like, dang, okay, I thought I knew this language a lot better than I did. And just because Africans are the way they are, sometimes they like to tease a lot. So they're also very open people. So they would tell my companion, wow, he doesn't speak French, does he? Is he okay? Is he sick? Is his head okay? Because they thought I'd been here just as long as he had. They tried to speak to me in their broken English, and it was bad, but with time I've learned language, figured it out. But it was an adventurous first day. At the end of the day, because we had like regular teaching appointments, and then we had one teaching appointment that was way out in the village. That was so far out that we had to take a motorcycle to get out there because the cars wouldn't go out there. Normally you're not supposed to take motorcycles, but we had special permission from the mission president. So we rode out there, and we taught this family. That was when I gave away my first Book of Mormon. It was the first day. I prepped, and I gave her the Book of Mormon. She accepted it. She started reading it. Way down the line, like a year and a half later, she got baptized, and the rest of her family as well. Her her husband was a member. But it was an adventurous first day. I remember it very well. First off, the mission consists of a couple countries. We have the Republic of Congo Brazzaville. Not to be confused with the Democratic Republic of Congo Brazzaville. That's the other bigger one. It used to be part of the mission, but it's been made into its own mission now. So you have Republic of Congo. You have Cameroon. Those are the two that we're most likely to serve in. The most recent one that opened up was Gabon, which opened up while I was there. And also in it are the countries of Central African Republic and Equatorial Guinea. However, Central African Republic is kind of war-torn at the moment, so they haven't sent any missionaries there yet. They're still trying to figure out how that's going to work. Still trying to get the branch stabilized. And Equatorial Guinea isn't open to missionary work yet. And what more, they speak Spanish there, so I don't know how that'll work out since it's a French-speaking mission. But in those 3 countries, in Gabon, the one city you can go to is Libreville, and it's very new. Missionary work went very fast there. I never got to go there, unfortunately. I just heard stories about many people getting baptized and a lot of miracles of people coming to church. I don't know how many people are there right now. I have no clue. All I know is it's pretty new. In Cameroon, there are 2 cities you can be in. There's the capital city, Yaoundé, and there's another city, the second largest city, which is called Douala. Yaoundé was the first of the 2 to, I guess, receive the church. It's been there since 1990. Someone told me recently they're working on getting a stake organized. So that'd be the first stake in Cameroon. While I was there, they split a branch, and they do have a district. The people there are very great. If you do get to check that place out, I recommend meeting up with President Bala. He's a very nice guy. He's the district president. I'd probably be stake president, let's be honest. But in the other city, Douala, it's a little newer over there. It's just 2 branches. They're working on splitting them and making a district. So a stake is coming eventually, with time. And in Congo Brazzaville, there's 2 cities as well. There's, of course, the namesake, Brazzaville, and there's Pointe-Noire. I never got to go to Brazzaville because it was closed to North Americans while I was there till the very end, and it opened up. And a good friend of mine got to go there instead. I was fine with not going there. But I spent some good time in Pointe-Noire. When I was there was 3 branches. I think there's... Oh, just kidding. Right when I left, they split and made 4. Yes. And so they're working on getting a stake there as well. Very great. I love Pointe-Noire. Beachside. Makes for a good P-Day. But Brazzaville, I don't know much about Brazzaville. I know it's more developed than Pointe-Noire. It's the capital city. It's where the president lives. I know that there are 2 stakes in Brazzaville. Yeah. There's not a temple, but right across the Congo River in Kinshasa, which they're like, you have Brazzaville, and there's a river dividing, and there's Kinshasa. So a boat ride gets right across. You won't be doing that probably, but there's a temple that will be over there eventually. So that's a little bit about which countries and what cities are in the mission. That's for like number of missionaries. Probably about like maybe when I was there was like 50. There's like 10 all cities, and then Brazzaville is a lot more. There's maybe like a quarter of that North Americans, but just because how it worked out with me, I ended up working mostly with North Americans, but I know some people who mostly worked with Africans, so sort of luck of the draw. Just get you transferred, and there you go. Well, I'd say in Cameroon, it's mostly Catholic people that you'll run into. Ran into a lot of those people. They're pretty nice, but they also just don't really want to see a reason to change because they have their own church. Especially since a lot of the neighborhoods have a church in the neighborhood, or they meet in someone's house. It's kind of easier to go there than to travel to our church. That's a problem in whatever city you go to. Definitely more Catholics in Yaoundé. Douala, there's probably a lot more, I guess, people who, as they call themselves, free thinkers. They still believe in God, but like they think churches are corrupt and they don't need church, but they'll still like listen to you. And then in Congo, there's a lot more Muslim people. Not like a majority. It's definitely still a majority Christian, but there's a lot more Muslim people, which it's not a bad thing. I like Muslim people, but we can't teach them because it's a very, Orthodox Muslim, I should say. So they're a lot more extreme in what they believe. And one belief is that if you leave Islam, that you get stoned. So we don't want to ruin people's families because that's an important thing in the church is the family. So we just don't teach them unless you get special permission from the mission president and that individual. And if he's a minor, like parents sign a permission slip and all this stuff. So I didn't teach a lot of Muslims. I taught some, but other than that, not a lot of Jews. I think I've heard of one elder meeting someone who's Jewish, and not a lot of atheists either. I mean, a lot of like people who aren't very active in their church, but I don't think I met anyone who didn't believe in God. I met a few people who were like, I guess we'd call them pagans. They worship like native spirits, or they pray to their ancestors' skulls or stuff like that. It's like tribal religions. I met a few of those people, not a ton. Most people are Christian. I said the biggest part of like Africans and like their culture is centered around the family, because they don't have a lot else. They basically have their family. So weddings are a huge deal. Funerals are a huge deal. Babies being born is a huge deal. Baptisms are a huge deal. Not just in our church, but like in any church, when somebody gets baptized is a pretty big deal. When it comes to holidays, like, they don't really celebrate a lot of holidays. Like in Cameroon, I can think May 20th, that's Unification Day. It's like their Independence Day. Because Cameroon used to be divided into two. There was the English-speaking Cameroon and French-speaking Cameroon. And since they both had different Independence Days, when they finally joined together to make one Cameroon, they're like, okay, this is our new Independence Day. So that's like the big official holiday. And a lot of businesses are closed that day, so it kind of makes it hard to get around, because a lot of taxi drivers take the day off. People don't really do much for that. Christmas is interesting. It's sort of seen as like a holiday for kids. So in both Cameroon and in Congo. So like they'll get their kids stuff, but they don't really get themselves any gifts. They go to church, of course. Easter's a big thing. Palm Sunday's a big thing. They celebrate that by going to church. The really big holiday for adults is New Year's. And it's actually kind of bad because it goes for like 3 days. So it's like before New Year's and like New Year's and like after New Year's, it keeps going. And since a lot of people drink alcohol in both places, a lot of people just go out drinking for like 3 days, and it makes it really hard to see people. So that's like the adult holiday. Christmas is for kids, like a week later is New Year's. That's the holiday for adults. Birthdays, just sort of insignificant, just whatever. So holidays aren't too important, but those like big life events in someone's life and their family, those are what's important. Which is interesting because it sort of makes it more personal. I kind of like that. I'd say they're pretty hard to offend, generally speaking. They're pretty easygoing people. They're very accepting of foreigners, and they're pretty understanding too. Like I said earlier, they're very open. They're not afraid to tease you as well, a lot, relentlessly. So that's kind of like just having a bunch of older brothers and sisters. But if like you gain weight, like there's a point where I gained some weight because this one other kept making brownies all the time, so I kept eating them. So I went to church and I was like, "Wow, you're getting fat." And that's just what they say. Like, they don't mean to offend you. Like, you might get offended. That's just us as Americans. Like, we don't really talk about that. Them, whatever. That's fair game. Or age. You can say, that person's getting old. You're getting old there. That's okay. So don't worry too much about, like, offending someone, asking how old they are. Toward the end, I even started asking people, like, how much they weigh, how tall they are. And that was okay. But one thing that's a big do is always remember, like, if you like walk in and there's like a group of people, and make sure you say hello. And it's best to shake everybody's hands because they're very, it's very important to them, like greeting people. I don't know why. We don't really do it in America. Like, I know missionaries are supposed to shake hands like anyway, but like, make sure you shake hands with everybody, like, even like little kids, because they teach like 2-year-olds to shake hands. So kids will wanna shake your hand. So you get used to a lot of handshaking, and they will get offended if you don't greet them, and if you don't say goodbye, if you don't shake their hand, goodbye, and hello. So again, sort of people-based. And one other thing is they like it when you stop by to say hi. And that's literally all you have to say is hi, and they're cooking. So if you're walking somewhere, this happened to me all the time, and we'd like make friends with someone who worked at like a little booth outside. I gave him a brochure. Never came to church, never read it, but like, he's just still a cool guy. If we would walk by and we didn't say hi, he'd get offended. He'd be like, why didn't you say hi to me? I saw you walk by the other day, you didn't say hi. Oh, sorry, we didn't know. We barely know this guy, but we pass by, we say hi, he says hi, how's it going? It's going good, okay, have a good day, see ya. And we do that every day with a lot of people. Or if you're just in the area, you pass by a member's house, stop by, say hi. Because if they hear you're in the area and you didn't pass by to say hi, they might get a little angry. Another big thing is food. Because they like I said, they're very nice to foreigners. So they'll want to give you stuff to eat. Make sure you don't eat all of it, because sometimes like they haven't eaten yet. because the order of eating goes like the guests are number one. That's how you treat them. You treat them very nicely. Then like dad is number two, and then like if there's any like uncles or like grandparents, then they're next. Well, grandparents would be above dad, but like any uncles, cousins, like they're next. Then mom, then the kids. So make sure that everyone else is eating first. Otherwise, you might be eating the kids' dinner, which would be unfortunate. But also, don't say no. If, like, you want something to eat, don't say no, because then they'll get offended because they think, like, oh, you're American, like you can't handle our food. Like, you only want your food, your white people food. That's what they call it. Although, if you ask them what white people food are, they can't quite describe it. They don't know what it is. They just something they say. So eat what they put in front of you because it's good. Unless like you get the feeling not to, then don't eat it. And make sure you ask what's in it, because sometimes people will go out in the bush, out in the jungle, and they'll hunt bush meat, which is basically like monkeys, armadillos, these weird like took a crocodile and shrunk it down to like this big. I don't know what they call them. They're kind of weird looking, and like I assume they taste good because people eat them. I've never knowingly eaten them, but they're illegal. And it's kind of dirty meat as well, so avoid that as best you can. But if they give you food, eat it. If they give you something to drink it. It's pretty similar. Like I feel like if you offered someone dinner and they're like, oh, nope, then you'd be like sort of taken back, because that's just how we humans are for some reason. So even though they're their own independent nations, France still has a lot of control over them. Just like England has still a lot of control over like Nigeria or South Africa, just because that used to be theirs. So a lot of people look to France as like, this is what is cool, this is what life is supposed to be, which can be bad because it can really be materialistic. But they get really into French politics. They don't particularly care about their own. Both of them, they just see their president as like a whatever, like who cares about that guy? But they all really care about like who the French president is and what he does, because that affects Cameroon and Congo, because they do a lot of trade. Because there's a lot of nice resources in both Congo and Cameroon. There's a ton of oil in Congo, a ton of crude oil, and in Cameroon there's a ton of wood, and also a lot of other. I think there's also a lot of natural gas there as well. So France wants that. Cameroon and Congo have that. So there's just this still like interaction between the two of them. I ran into like 5 or 6 French people, my whole mission, talked to them. They all took brochures except 2 of them, which I was pretty amazed with. But they also live in the nicer part of town. Especially among the young people, I would say also there's a influence, because like Europe is cool. Just how like here in America we sort of look to like New York or LA or over there in Europe to see what the new styles are. Same with them, they looked to the French youth, see what they're doing. And in every city I went, there's what they call l'Institut Français, which translates to like the French Institute. I don't know if we have them here in America, but it's basically like a place you go to like learn about, experience French culture. They have one for like German Institute, American Institute. So they go to these places, they like watch French movies, hang out with like French kids whose parents work there, and they want to like listen to French music or watch like Paris Saint-Germain play soccer or something. Read books. I don't know. I never went to one because I was busy. But there's still some strong ties between France and Congo and Cameroon, that's for sure. Because before colonization, they just were their own tribes doing their own thing. But then Congo was taken over by the Belge who came in. They took that land. Cameroon was actually first, I guess, scouted out by Portuguese fishermen. Later, Germans came in and took it, and then the French took it from the Germans. And in Congo, the Belges sold it to the French, who then did their own thing. There's a joke among Cameroonians that say, the Germans came in and built everything we liked, gave us everything we liked. Then they left, the French came, and they ruined it all. So even though like both nations have their ties back to France, they're still very strongly tied back to France. A lot of people will go to France to study if they have the money. A lot of French people live in Cameroon and Congo to do business. It's sort of like a love-hate relationship. between France and those areas. They because they all speak French, which is nice because they like unified in one language. Otherwise, there's like, no joke, like 300 languages in Cameroon that are spoken, like tribal languages. Congo, there's like 2 or 3, but still, French like unifies it, which is good for like international trade and talking to most people to speak to them in French. They're still very affected by that. A lot of their, like one big thing is like bread. For French people, bread's very important. Let's say la baguette. And you can buy a baguette pretty much anywhere. In Congo, they're pretty awful. They're like a giant styrofoam packing peanut. But you make do with what you got. Cameroon, they're a lot nicer, a lot better. But so there's still a lot of remnants of French colonization in both countries. So when I opened my mission call, I saw the Congo, I was both excited and scared at the same time. Because I thought to myself, wait a minute, I think that's on the U.S. do not fly list. So I went on the internet and looked, and it is. Like, I think Congo and Cameroon are both on the U.S. do not fly list. But like, don't worry about it, because I felt pretty safe. Like, there were some areas that were a little shiftier, and there's not a lot of like good lighting, other than like the main roads or like downtown where it's nicer. Then there's street lights, but like in the people's neighborhoods, like they have their own lights, but it can get kind of dark. But your phone will have a light on it because that's how they build the phones. Like, there's a flashlight so you can walk around and be fine. But what's nice about where you are is it gets dark at the same time because it's right on the equator. So you always know when it's like time to go home. For us, we had to be back in the apartments at 7 p.m. for safety reasons, because at night it does get a little crazy because people go out to drink, they go out to go party in like nightclubs, and that's when like as they call them, the bandits come out on their motorcycles. They come out and steal people's purses. They go out and mug people. They threaten people and extort them, whatever. So as long as you're inside by like right after nightfall, not before it gets a little too dark, then you're fine. And there's some areas that you just get a bad feeling about, and that's the Holy Spirit telling you, like, don't come back here. So you don't. We never had a list of places not to go to, but if it just feels wrong, don't go back there, because there's a lot of places and a lot of people you can talk to. You don't need to worry about it. Especially if someone like threatens you, just avoid that area. I had to do that a couple times. Food-wise, be careful of the meat you eat. Like, ask them where it's from. Most people, they'll get it au marché, but just clarify. And if it seems a little off or tastes a little weird, maybe you should stop. But they're pretty good about keeping their food clean, which sort of surprised me at first, because they don't want like their kids to get sick. So if it's like maybe like a single person kind of in a sketchy area, maybe it might not be the best to eat that. If it's like rice, I go for it. It's hard to get rice bad. As for water, like I said, probably it's best to avoid drinking water from like spigots or wells. I didn't get sick, but I think I lucked out. I'd recommend either just buying the water bottles that are in abundance, or while you're at the MTC, buy like a filtering water bottle and then bring that with you. I had one, I didn't use it, but I had other friends who did, and they said it's good. Let's see. When it comes to transport, don't take motorcycles. Really don't. Like, don't even think about it, because there was one time we were on a moto, we ended up crashing. Luckily, no one was hurt. But that's because God was looking out for us. So don't even think about it. Not even if you're trying to meet like that golden investigator. It's like, oh, we'll take a moto. Just say, okay, you take a moto, we'll walk. Don't worry, we'll get there. Taxis are pretty safe. I never got in an accident. I've seen some accidents before with like the big trucks. But if your taxi driver's a little crazy, just get out, or you can just like sort of sternly tell them to like, hey, like, watch it. If someone else already hasn't, because usually there's someone who will speak up and tell you to slow down if they're driving too crazy. Buses, those are fine. I took those. One thing you want to be wary of is there's certain people, they're not taxi drivers. This is illegal, what they do. They'll act as taxi drivers in their car. So it's the same exact thing. That you tell them where to go, and they'll take you there. I took those again. It's usually out on the edges of the outskirts of town where those are, like more toward the village. And I didn't have any problems with them ever. The people I took them from were normally actually pretty nicer than taxi men. But I know that it can cause problems. So talk to mission president about that one. I did it. I don't know what the rules are now, so be careful. I got sick, like majorly sick. I got like colds, just normally. But I got food poisoning once. And that was like the one major sickness I had. It was pretty awful, I won't lie. So what I just did was I avoided eating that food ever again. And luckily I never had it presented to me again, which was a nice little tender mercy from the Lord, because it's a very popular food and I never had to eat it again. But food poisoning is probably that one happened a lot. One that happens among people a lot. It happened among some missionaries. I didn't get it, luckily. Malaria. You get malaria pills. They're supposed to take every day. Like, take them, actually. If you don't take them, like, you're going to have a bad time. I know some people who thought they were hardcore and didn't take them. They didn't get malaria. I know some people who thought they were strong, stopped taking them, and then got malaria a week later. So just take it. It's fine. Just take it. To prevent most things, I'd recommend bringing along, like, multivitamins. Just like Walmart or Walgreens. Just go buy some. Buy, like, a 2-year supply. Just take one a day. That'll avoid a lot of sicknesses as well. Dehydration is a big thing. I did get dehydrated once. That was pretty awful. So just make sure, like, you carry a water bottle with you and drink it throughout the day. Don't be afraid to talk to your parent. Like, look, we need to buy a water bottle, because they're like 300 francs, which is the equivalent of like 60 cents. So you'll be fine. As for like problems that could arise, like crime-wise, we did have some apartments that got broken into. The worst one was like I broke into while like they were there asleep. So just make sure like you lock the doors, because most places have like a gate and also the door. So just lock all the doors. Make sure the windows are locked. Most people won't go to too grand extremes to get in. Like, even though you don't give out your address publicly, everyone knows where the white guys live, because you just sort of live like in among the people. So you're just living in one of the houses. So it's kind of weird that these white guys in shirts and ties live in there. They assume that because you're white, you have money, so they might want to check out your house, take some stuff. So just keep your stuff in the house, keep it locked. We did have some problems. No, we didn't, but it could happen. I've heard of other people happening, like people getting mugged. If people do like ask you for stuff, don't carry a lot with you. I know the messenger bag is the new thing. So just have like the bare essentials, scriptures, pamphlets, white handbook. I also had like my hymn book and consecrated oil. I also carried my camera with me. Maybe a little risky. Did it anyway. But if someone's like, hey, give me your money, just do it. Just give them the money. Because they might have a knife, they might have a gun, they're probably a lot bigger than you, probably a lot stronger. Just give them. And then don't go back in that area. Because if they see you again, they'll probably get you again and again and again and again. So just give them the money, get out of there, then call Mr. President. And if you can, I don't know if this would be feasible, find the police somewhere. They may or may not care, and if they're not close, they might be gone. So try to avoid that. Don't be flashing a lot of money. I'd recommend keeping your money, like, what we'd do is we'd make wallets, just like little, like maybe like this big. Usually if you take like your boarding pass from when you come, you fold it in half and wrap tape around it and keep it in your shirt pocket, so that way no one can pickpocket you. If a hand's coming at this, you know that you're going to see it coming. You can bat it away and get away. If people are like looking to fight, which this did happen, just calmly get away as fast as you can. Don't provoke them, because you might want to, because you're hot, you're tired of people like, I don't know, calling you out for being white. It can happen. Like, just check your ego at the door. Remember who you are. Remember who you're serving. Remember whose name is on your chest besides your own. And just get away from the situation and go sit down somewhere else. Take a break. Other than that, I'd say wear a seatbelt, but you don't wear seatbelts in the cars. So just hold on tight and pray that you don't get in a car accident. We haven't had any problems with that when I was there. And the speeds are slow enough that it wouldn't cause too much damage, I would think. Other than that, that's what I can think of safety-wise. It's cheap relatively because the dollar is considerably more powerful than the Central African franc. That's what they use out there in both countries, and in Gabon as well. So the whole mission, they'll be using the same money because they have like a sort of like a European Union. Like they have Europe, they have the euro in most European nations. In Central Africa, they have the Central African franc. So they also have that in West Africa and like Eastern Africa. They have like their own little separate unions of banks that have joined together. But it's not a very powerful currency. Depending on the city, you'll get more or less. In Congo, you get the most because things are more expensive because they don't produce a lot of their own food and stuff. So have it shipped in from Cameroon, actually, which feeds a lot of Africa because there's a lot of food in Cameroon. So from Cameroon, you get a little less money because you don't need as much because things are cheaper. We once bought 8 mangoes that were the size of softballs for 100 francs, which is 20 cents. So, taxis, your main mode of transport, they start costing 250 francs, depending on the city as well, because some are kind of like one's like a public bus in Cameroon where they stop and pick people up and keep going. But in Congo, it's more like a taxi as you think about it. Like in New York, you get in, tell him the destination, he drives you there, just you. And so those ones are more expensive. Those ones range from 15,000 to it starts at 1,000 and just goes up from there. Like the further away it is, the more it costs. That's the same in Cameroon as well. It starts at 250 per person, and if it's further away, then it's 300 francs, 400 francs, 500 francs. Just for a conversion factor, 500 francs equals $1, roughly. So a bread, like a baguette, that's like that big, costs like 100 francs. There's bigger baguettes for more. If you want like a bottle of water, that costs for anywhere from 300 francs to 500 francs, depending if you get the one that's the local company or the French company. But things like a pack of dried spaghetti will cost you like 300 francs. Vegetables are pretty cheap in like Cameroon. Like you can get like a stack of tomatoes, like 5 tomatoes for like 200 francs. Whereas in Congo, a stack of 5 tomatoes is like 2,000 francs. They're a lot smaller and less good. So food's pretty cheap. They'll try to rip you off. Like that's just anywhere you go. If you go to the food market, if you go to like buy a soccer jersey, if you go to like buy a new battery charger for your camera, they'll try to rip you off because you're white and they think you have money. Whether or not you have a lot of money is irrelevant. But people, unlike here, are open to negotiation. So if you think something's too much, you propose a different price. And I guarantee your trainer or whatever, he'll know how to work it. So that way you can practice and get better. Some people are better than others, but you can always get the price to go down with really anything, especially things that are like, if you're trying to buy souvenirs, like a sculpture. Like when I went there, I was going to go buy a wedding gift for a friend of mine who was getting married shortly after I returned home. So a nice wooden carved thing like this big. And the starting price he gave me was the good price of 75,000, which was ridiculous. So after I argued with this guy for like 15 minutes, I got down to 5,000 francs, which is the equivalent of 10 bucks. So it's not worth that. So be careful with souvenirs, be careful getting ripped off. At markets, they're usually pretty good, but usually they might still try to, squeeze a little bit more out of you. So just be cautious and offer a lower price always. And they'll respect you for that too. They'll say things after you beat them and you get your price. They're like, yeah, you're a real Cameroonian, you're a real Congolese. It's like, yeah. So they'll respect you for that. The food is very good in Africa. I love it. People ask me my favorite food is, I will say African food because it's just so good. It's very simple. It's fills you up pretty well because they don't have a lot, so they need a kind of food that will keep you full for a while, so you don't have to eat again. Between the two nations, there are some basics that are similar, like rice. Everyone eats rice in both places. That's very African. No matter where you go, you'll eat rice. Plantains are very popular. They're really good when they chop them up into little slices and then fry them in oil. That's really good. I would say there's a lot more food in Cameroon itself than Congo, because I can count how many eating appointments I had in Congo on one hand. I think it was like 3 or 4. And we had some weddings where I sampled some food, but definitely more familiar with Cameroon food just because I ate it more. because they just have less in Congo. It's a lot poorer nation because their farms got destroyed during the Congo Wars in the 90s, and they haven't replanted them since. But in Cameroon, one thing that they eat a lot of is this one dish called indole. Basically, like most things in Africa, they take a plant and they cut it up, and this one's especially bitter, so they have to wash it several times to get the bitterness out. And then they cook it in oil, and then you eat it, usually with rice or plantains. That's pretty much everything. They have things called lecoq, they have other things called sanga. It's just very different plants or grasses cut up and cooked in oil. Some have corn in them, some have sugar in them, some have peanut butter in them, some just sort of taste like wet grass, especially in Congo. They have the one thing called trois pièces, which is French for 3 pieces. They put fish, peanut butter, and one other thing. Some plant. I don't know what's it called. It's a certain leaf they cut up. They throw it in there. But my favorite thing I ate in Cameroon was definitely this dish they have called fufu gumbo. We actually have gumbo in America. If you ever had, like, what's it called? Like Cajun cuisine. They have it there, like in Louisiana. It's not nearly the same. Basically chopped up okra. If you've ever had okra, it's very slimy and sticky. So they use a lot of that. So when you eat the soup, if you eat it with a spoon, you just grab a spoonful and you pick it up, and the soup's here, your spoon's here, and it's connected still. And it sounds gross, but it's actually really good. I like it. A lot of others didn't, but that was probably my favorite. Fufu, on the other hand, it's prevalent in basically all of Africa, and they eat it in Congo and Cameroon. It's a little different in both places. My favorite kind is where they take this certain root. In English it's called cassava, in French it's called manioc. They dry it out. It's basically like a potato. A big potato, like this big. They dry it out, break it into little pieces, and they crush it into a powder. Heat up some water, they dump the powder in. You get, basically, if you've ever been to like a MLB baseball game, you get like the mini bat. You get like a mini bat, essentially, and they stir that with the mini bat. Stir the powder in the hot water until it turns into a giant sticky ball. And it's very hot, it's very sticky, and it sort of tastes like sour potatoes, but in a good way. And that sounds kind of gross, but it's actually really good. You take it, you pull off a little bit, you form it into a ball, and you use that ball, you stick in whatever thing you're eating, be it gumbo or some kind of soup or stew or whatever, and then you use that as a spoon and you eat that. It's very popular over there. It's my favorite, far and beyond my favorite. Let's see what else. Beans are very popular because they're very easy to make. But one of my favorite things is in Congo. They have a thing that's called kwanga. It's amazing. It truly is amazing. It's the same root that they use for fufu, the manioc root. What they do instead is they take it and they grind it up, and they mix it with water, and they form it into like a log. And certain logs cost more depending on the size. You can get some that are this big and like that round, some that are this big and this round. Those are for like parties or weddings. They take it and they wrap it in leaves, and then they boil it, and they pull it out, and it's done, and you eat it. They have the same thing in Cameroon, except they cook it, and then they bury it in the ground for a few days and let it ferment. So it gets kind of gross. I don't like that one. But in Congo, it's really good. And I eat that very, very often. Trois pièces and kwanga, because they don't have a lot, but they eat those, and it's very, very good. Very inexpensive, too. You can get a log. It's like this big, that big around, for the equivalent of 20 US cents, and that'll tide you over for a little while. They drink soda, kind of a lot, because it's sort of, you either drink beer or you drink soda, because the water can kind of questionable. You're not supposed to drink water from like members' houses, like, or the faucet or wells. I did anyway, because it's just so hot that you just drink water. But oftentimes people offer you like a Coke or a Fanta or Sprite. Those are very popular. They have some regional ones. I think my favorite one is this one's called Gino. And it's basically like a fruit cocktail soda, but it's produced in Cameroon only. So if you go to Congo, you won't be able to see it. If you go to Congo, you'll be able to get passion fruit Fanta soda, which you don't find in the United States. So drink that up while you can, because it's very good. Chicken feet. One crazy dangerous experience is probably when me and my companion crashed on a motorcycle that we were riding up a hill. Just weighed a little too much. We're sitting a little too far back, and over we went. Luckily, no one was hurt. We got back on the darn thing and drove home. But one in particular was when it was after conference. This man had come, and he came to all 10 hours, so all sessions, and he was a little on the fence, sort of questioning before, but afterwards, because he made a list of questions that he wanted answered. After he went to conference, he had all of them answered, and he was so blown away he wanted to get baptized. And we were blown away too, so we set a baptismal date, and he eventually got baptized. It was great. But one random skill I learned is I came back learning how to cook like rice and beans really well. Like really well. It was pretty bad. It was in Congo, and it was raining, and the wind was blowing so hard it was sideways. And we were working the branch mission that day. It was flooded, and it was awful, and it was the one time on mission I got genuinely cold. One time. It was awful. I had a hard experience when this recent convert of mine, who I just thought she was great, all of a sudden she just stopped coming to church, stopped accepting the missionaries, didn't read the Book of Mormon anymore. She stopped answering her phone when we called her. To this day, I do not know why. Just one day she was great, next day something wasn't going right. It's quite sad, but that happens. Start now reading Preach My Gospel. Because I know some people, they might say, oh, no, it's Africa, Preach My Gospel doesn't count. Actually, it does. Like it counts even more in Africa, more than anywhere else. So start studying now, learn it, figure it out, because that is your best tool. That, coupled with modern day scripture, you'll be cooking. Like, don't get too caught up in like, oh, I gotta go to school right now, I gotta get married right now, I gotta do this right now, I gotta do this. Calm down. Just calm down. Like, take a while to decompress, hang out with your friends, play some basketball. I don't know. Just take some time, relax, and then like logically get your life in order. Figure out school. Figure out start going on dates. Don't treat every date like she's the one. Just relax. Don't be the overhyped return missionary. Just relax. It's okay. Well, missionary work is it's a very important thing. It's very satisfying. It's very hard, but I've never been happier in my life than in those 2 years. I know they say like the best 2 years, but it was the best 2 years of my life. I think before my mission, I was just sort of there doing my thing. I've been back for a little while now, and like I've enjoyed being back, but when I think back, it was a different kind of happy that I was feeling. I know that it's a really worthwhile endeavor. If you're on the fence about it, I'd say definitely do it. Go on the mission. It's the best investment you can make in yourself. You're going to change a lot of people's lives. You're going to change a lot of people's. You're going to see that change. You're going to not see that change a lot of other people too. But you'll be a force for good wherever you go if you really just try to do what Jesus would do. Just try to do your best at all times. I know it can be hard, but I know that if you pray every day and you read your scriptures and you try to follow the Holy Ghost, they'll be blessed. You find people to teach. You teach them. They'll change. They'll better their lives. You'll better your lives. Y'all learn from it. And it's really wonderful.